from the way that we love, yeah. She's the light and the gas, I'm the wood, yeah. Gave my heart to the wrong one, I learned, yeah. Shine bright like the sun, now I'm burned, yeah. I want your heart now. You won't give it up, yeah. You think you're the one now. You don't know how to love, yeah. Yeah, I ran away. She wanna hold me. What's good? Dark Knight Gang in the stack. Gang, gang. Today I'm about to do another video from the homies over at Infographic Show. This one right here is titled Worst Ways to Die. I told you guys I'm dropping 5 reactions today. I'm going hard. I mean, yeah, I'm having a good time. I'm fading in the clouds. I get to watch some YouTube videos and talk to the homies. Bro, I'm chilling. Anyway, I'm ready to hop on into this, man. Yeah, worst ways to die. I bet you burning. Ooh, you know burning is easily gonna be like top 3. Burning, like I said, skinned alive. Ooh, somebody just peeling off your skin. Ah, what? Oh, nah. I'm ready to hop on into this, man. This is about to be crazy. Let's go.
Death is scary, but what leads up to death can be even worse. There are quick ways to die and slow ways to die. Since death is an inevitability, most of us would like to die of old age.
Facts.
We can guarantee with 100% certainty
I want to
that
die
no
old.
one wants to die by...
Look, I want to die old and during sex. Ooh, that'll be fire. Let me be 100 years old having sex, and then I just pass out because I bust a nut so good. Oh!
Skinned alive. It's a long, excruciating process that can last from hours to days. But just how bad is it? We'll argue that it is the worst. What you're about to watch will make your skin crawl. Being skinned alive or flayed was a punishment used all around the world in the past. Records from around 900 BC recount the flaying of prisoners by Assyrian kings. Skinning people alive was used by the ancient Chinese, as well as the Aztecs of Mesoamerica. It was also used as a torture method in medieval Europe, so flaying has made its way around the world. But what if someone were to be skinned alive? What would it be like? What could they expect? How would they actually die? Some of these answers might surprise you. Others you'll find hard to stomach.
It's making my skin crawl already.
Process gets
just thinking about
worse, and that's why being skinned alive would most definitely be a terrible way to die. At the most basic level, being skinned alive means having the skin of your body sliced and then peeled off while you're still alive. The point of this form of torture and death is to create as much pain as possible. In terms of ways to die, the longer it lasts, the more painful it is. The worse it must be. That's why being flayed to death is at the very top of worst ways to die. Now, let's get started. We're about to walk you through the process and what someone could expect if you were to be skinned alive. It's not going to be pretty. The flaying started with a series of long cuts. What part of the body needed to be softened before the process of flaying could begin? There were 2 common ways to get the skin to soften. The first was to leave someone outside in the scorching sun until they were covered in intense sunburn. This caused the skin to swell and made it
easier. They loud. The homie young too, he like 12. I should be like, hey little nigga, hurry up.
The second way that the skin was prepared to be flayed was by placing someone in a vat of boiling water. As the person screamed in agony from the searing pain of being burned alive, the skin would swell and soften, making it easier for the torture to make precise incisions. So before being skinned alive, the victim would already be in excruciating pain from the preparation process. Now comes the really messed up part. You won't believe how horrifying this is going to be. The person being skinned alive would have their hands and feet tied to a table so that they could not move. They would have to watch as the knife that would cut through their softened skin was sharpened right before their eyes. No matter how hard they struggled, they would not be able to get away from it. The knife would then be used to make a long cut somewhere on the body. Common spots to begin cutting were the thighs or buttocks. This was because a relatively long, straight incision could be made from these locations on the body. If the person was really unlucky, the flare would start with the face. This would cause immense pain, as there are large concentrations of nerve receptors all along the head. These receptors give someone the ability to make facial expressions. With each nerve receptor, there's also a pain receptor. As the nerves are severed by the knife, the brain receives pain signals. You would never ever want to be skinned alive, but if you were, you would pray that the person doing it did not start with your face. The cutting might seem like the worst part about being skinned alive, but it is not by a long shot. The worst part about being skinned alive is what comes next. The goal of the flayer is to keep as much skin intact as possible. Why would they need to keep large pieces of removed skin intact, you might wonder? We're gonna get to that later on, but some of the reasons you wouldn't guess in a million years. In order to get the largest amount of skin possible, the flayer would make long cuts until they reached the end of a limb or a part of the body that posed a problem, such as the curvature of a finger. After they made the series of cuts around the piece of skin they wanted to remove, the flayer would put down their knife and begin to pull. That's right, they didn't cut the entire piece of skin off the body. Instead, the flayer would cut the outline and pull the section off by hand. This meant that after being cut up, the person would then have to endure the nerve endings of their skin literally being ripped off their muscles. That's thousands upon thousands of pain signals flooding their brain with each tug of the skin. Did we mention this would be the worst way to die?
Why would you not pass out from all this pain?
The person would not be dead yet. They might not even be close to dying. It was possible that if someone who was skilled at flaying bodies was behind the knife, the entirety of someone's skin could be removed from their body, and they could still survive for days. That's right, days. Worst way to die. So what would actually kill someone who was skinned alive? The obvious answer would be blood loss. Although most of the blood runs through the veins and muscles, cuts along the skin would inevitably bleed. Also, the exposed muscle would allow blood to seep out of the body. Eventually, the person would lose more blood than they could produce. As the person was being flayed, shock would inevitably settle in. The person would feel dizzy, confused, and breathing would become harder and harder. This could cause vomiting and hot flashes, all of which would add to the unpleasantness of being skinned alive.
This is
as shock
darker
took
than I
hold, it would
thought.
cause the body to pump blood faster,
like,
in hopes of getting enough oxygen and nutrients to vital organs.
Dark.
This would speed up the process of blood loss and lead to death. You may not believe it, but there were even more gruesome ways to die from being skinned alive. The skin is an extremely important organ for the human body for two reasons.
Yeah, man,
the first is because it acts as a protective barrier from the outside world. If the skin is removed, pathogens can enter the body and infect the individual at will. This could lead to nasty infections that might cause even more pain and eventually death. The person who was skinned alive would literally be helpless against foreign invaders. This includes bugs and microbes who would consume the body until the person passed away. This would be a truly terrible way to go. Yet there was an even worse way to die from being skinned alive. The second vital function that a person's skin plays is thermoregulation. In simpler terms, this means a person's skin helps maintain a certain body temperature. Skin is especially useful for keeping the body warm. When the skin was removed from someone's body, they would instantly feel a chill as the warmth from their blood and muscles escaped into the air. Then, as if being skinned alive and bleeding everywhere wasn't bad enough, the person would begin to freeze to death. If someone was super unlucky and did not die from blood loss or infection, they might have to wait skinless for days for hypothermia to set in and eventually freeze to death. That pretty much sums up why being skinned alive would be the worst way to die.
Yeah, this is the worst.
But before you go, we want to leave you with a couple more terrifying facts.
Nah, bro, I'm done.
What might happen to someone's skin after they're flayed? Well, you're about to find out. One thing the skin was used for was a warning to others to not break the law. Flayed skin would be hung on the doors and walls for everyone to see, as a reminder of what could happen if they broke a law. In some parts of the world, flayed skin may have been worn by priests in rituals. Imagine being skinned alive and having to watch someone put on your epidermis to perform a ritual for the gods. That would be a super creepy thing to witness just before you die. But perhaps the most disturbing thing that was done with flayed skin was to bind books. That's right, anthropodermic bibliopagy is the term given to binding of books in human skin. Researchers have found and documented 18 books that were bound this way. A person who was skinned alive would eventually die.
We are
There's no doubt about that.
Human
but their
beings.
skin could remain in use long after their death, wrapped around the pages of a book.
I'm done, bro, I'm done. That sounded absolutely insane. Not only did it sound insane, bro, that is, man. So first, your skin is ripped off. First, they cut into you. So obviously that's extremely painful. After they cut into you, they rip your skin off, and he said that's so painful. And then you don't even die from that. You could be laying there, then your body temperature goes down, so you start to get cold. Bugs could come in and start eating you. Oh, hey, if I ever have an enemy, I'm skinning you alive, guys. I'm gonna see y'all next time. Peace.